Hello gamers, I am John, host of Video Games in the World, and if you have seen my 8-part playthrough of The Last of Us Part 2, then it's finally time for me to review this game. Now this game I have been waiting for since watching the teaser in late 2017 when I reacted to it. Link in the description. I was ready to play it since that time, and I finally got to do so. As the years went by, this game was becoming even more awaited by fans of the first game that was released on the PS3 7 years ago. Of course, a lot of people will throw a lot of crap at this game without even playing it because to them it's SJW propaganda. But you know what? Like I said, I'm going to review this game with my own words. I decided to not watch reviews from the mainstream media nor the hashtag #GetWokeGoBroke crowd. So, with all that said and done, this is the review of The Last of Us Part 2. Enjoy! Story for this game. 5 years have passed since the events of The Last of Us. Also, it has been 25 years since the cordyceps infection outbreak. Joel and Ellie live peaceful lives in the town of Jackson, Wyoming. However, the town's residents live in fear of the infected and hostile humans as well. When tragedy strikes, Ellie walks down a path of revenge and a desire to get justice. But this path can lead to physical and emotional trauma due to the consequences of her actions as she tracks down those responsible for the tragedy that occurred.
How many came with you?
Concept for this game. In this game, you at first take control of Ellie and at times Joel. As Ellie, you must travel through all of Seattle and track down those responsible for the tragedy that has occurred. Flashbacks also show the bond between Ellie and Joel, how they are close, but that bond shatters when SAT troops are discovered. Another character you play as is Abby Anderson, a member of the militant survivor group called the Washington Liberation Front. During her part of the story, you learn much of her tragic past and also the choices that can lead to severe consequences and put her loyalties to the test. At many points in the game, Abby and Ellie will encounter infected and hostile human enemies such as the WLF and the cult known as the Seraphites. The gameplay is pretty much the same as the first in terms of melee weapons, firearms, and explosives, which of course can be upgraded once you have enough tools to do so. Like in the previous title, melee weapons and ammo are scattered in different areas. However, there are new features such as jumping, dodging attacks, going prone for stealth combat, and so on. Crafting has also been expanded, along with new ammo types such as explosive arrows. Two noteworthy additions are an identification meter, which in addition to the audio cue from the first game, alerts the player to how close an enemy is to seeing them. While it's white, the player still has the opportunity to hide, but once it turns red, they have been spotted, and an injury gauge, which indicates when the player receives a serious wound, such as an arrow to the shoulder, and not to the knee like in Skyrim, okay? And must press and hold the R1 button in order to treat it. Another new addition is the ability to pick up glass bottles or bricks and throw them while running. It has been improved as they can get smarter too. Some of the enemies in the game have dogs that can track you down through smell, through your scent, making them extremely dangerous. History for this game. The success of the first Last of Us game left fans wanting for some more. On the same year the first game was released, there were early concept arts for this one. Naughty Dog began development in 2014, soon after the release of The Last of Us remastered version. After the success of Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, development on this game began. Neil Druckmann led development as creative director and writer, reprising his role from The Last of Us and Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. Anthony Newman and Kurt Marginal were selected to be co-game directors for Part 2, overseeing gameplay elements such as level design and mechanics. Druckmann wrote the story with Ali Gross. The team experimented with different plot structures and considered scrapping the game entirely until they settled on an idea that mirrored the first game. Druckmann said that The Last of Us is about the extreme measures one would take for love, whereas part 2 is more about how far one would go to bring justice for those they love. The themes of revenge and retribution were inspired by Druckmann's experiences growing up in Israel, where violence was a frequent topic. He recalled watching footage of the 2000 Ramallah lynching and how, after hearing the cheering crowds, his mind turned to violent thoughts about bringing the perpetrators to justice. He wanted the player to feel a thirst for revenge before making them realize the reality of their actions. Druckmann said other themes include tribalism, trauma, and the pursuit of justice. Artists at Naughty Dog traveled to Seattle to analyze the architecture, vegetation, materials, topography, lighting, and capture for the realistic textures. The Last of Us Part 2 was originally planned as an open world game with hub worlds, but later game transferred to a more linear style as it better served the narrative. Naughty Dog wanted to increase the accessibility options introduced in Uncharted 4 to ensure that all players could complete the story, and the developers attended conferences and worked with advocates. The Last of Us Part 2 was banned in Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates due to homosexuality. This is due to their conservative and religious traditions, since in those countries, homosexuality is still very much frowned upon and you don't want to know the rest. Which is very, very sad. The good aspect about this game. I praise the stellar performances of Ashley Johnson and Laura Bailey. Both of these actresses did a fantastic job in portraying their characters. To be honest, I really don't give a damn what they say about Laura. She's amazing. And to those who are still sending death threats, you are all idiots and ignorant as well. Okay, back to the good aspect. Graphics were very well done, and so were the visuals. When it comes to the music, Argentinian musician Gustavo Santaolalla, known for his composing of Brokeback Mountain and The Last of Us first game, knocks it out of the park once again, as he did with the first game. I like how they sang songs such as Take On Me with a guitar, It Takes Me Back to Great Times. It was actually fun playing the guitar mini-games. I love the new gameplay elements, which made it quite easier to hide from hostile humans and infected as well at times. Additions such as explosive arrows and treating arrow injuries were pretty good, and I also liked how you could create a silencer to prevent enemies from hearing louder gunfire, and even the infected as well. Ellie's character development was like totally intense, because when certain truths come out into the light, they can be very hurtful. Gloria Steinem once said, "The truth will set you free, but it's gonna hurt you." As for Abby, you might empathize with her when you see the story. Yeah, I know a lot of people didn't like her so much, but if you look at her into her story, you have to empathize with her. That aspect, it's ranting time. My beef with this game is that they could have done a bit better with the story. Why? Because the story felt pretty dull and boring at times, and Abby's was a little bit too longer than Ellie's in a way. But in some way it was okay, so we could know her a bit better. Still, what felt pretty dull about it is that it focused a bit more on combat and didn't have that much balance between story and combat. Another one of my rantings is the dogs. Those guys were annoying. As for the infected, I still hate the clickers and the stalkers. From the very pit of my stomach, I just can't stand them. In my honest opinion, one of the characters whose name I shall not mention deserved a better fate than the one he was given. He deserved better, in my honest opinion. And finally, in conclusion, I gotta say that it was a pretty good game. Yes, it has its bad aspects, but it also has its good aspects. Not as successful as the first game, but I still liked it. Graphics and visuals were phenomenal. I also like how some of the characters were modeled after their respective voice actors, and the music was beautiful too. Now, if you are throwing a lot of crap at this game without having played it yet, then you need to at least give it a try before judging. And if you're pissed off that the main protagonist is a lesbian, and if you're pissed off about the inclusion of LGBTQ characters, then you shouldn't be playing it if you're being so biased, prejudiced, and judgmental. You know what I'm saying? Because look, I believe that gays, lesbians, bis, and trans people deserve a shot at being a protagonist in a movie, in a video game, in a TV show, in a comic book. I mean, for God's sake, we got tons of LGBT characters that are protagonists, like Alan Scott in Earth 2 of the New 52 storylines. But still, I liked the game, and like I said, I use my own words and not the words of the mainstream media or the get woke, go broke crowd. My final score for The Last of Us is an 8.5 out of 10. And that's all, gamers. This is John of Video Games in the World. Have a good one. Peace.